All right, shalom, friends. Hope you guys are doing good. I'll apologize ahead of time for my voice. My face decided not to breathe today. No, yeah, I've been still dealing with congestion. It's been several months now, so if you don't mind, uh, I would appreciate some prayers for that. This is getting a little annoying to say the least. But shalom, divinely blessed designs. Blessings to you guys, Roman Jeeper and uh JS Genesis Designs. Almost called you Badger, brother. Sorry. Not the worst name I could mix you up with though. Brenda Prince. Shalom to you too. And if if you're watching this later, welcome to the live stream. Thanks for tuning in. We're gonna be reading the book of Exodus today, or sorry, why did I say that? Ezekiel, the other E. Um which is a book that has been coming up really frequently in conversations. People have been mentioning it, quoting from it quite often. Perhaps it's just like the phenomenon when you buy a red Honda, let's say, and all of a sudden you see red Hondas everywhere, and it seems like, wow, I never noticed this before. Um, Maybe it's that. I don't know. Rochelle, Shabbat Shalom. Or not Shabbat. I wish it was Shabbat. Shalom, Shalom. I read that as Shabbat Shalom. Uh, but regardless, what I was saying is Ezekiel's been coming up an awful lot lately, and so I think that there's going to be some timely messages in this book. I am not very acquainted with the book of Ezekiel. I think I said Exodus again. Uh, Lost Light, Shalom. Um, but we're gonna get acquainted with it. We're gonna open up, and I'll share my screen right now. All right, check it, see if everything's coming through okay over there. All right, everything seems to look pretty good. If you guys can hear me good, we'll just go ahead and start reading. Little thumbs up or a one or anything in the chat just to let me know. Oh no. Oh man, I'm sorry. Love you too. We good? Anybody give me a 5x5 just to confirm that you can hear me all right? It might be buffering. All right, we got some dead air here. Sorry, guys. All right, Lost Light. I appreciate that. JS Badger or JS Genesis. I suppose the what was sarcastic. All right, appreciate it. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. First, let's open up in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, I just pray that you be with us right now. Your word says where two or three are gathered, that you're in the presence, and so we just thank you for being here. I pray that you would give us wisdom and discernment to, as we read your word, to receive the timely messages that are in it. Help us to have humble hearts and keep us malleable as clay is in the potter's hand. Father, I just pray that you would bless each person listening right now, and I pray that you help me read clearly so that everyone can understand what your word is saying. And it's in Yeshua's name we pray. Amen. All right. Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 1. And it came to be in the 30th year, in the 4th month, on the 5th of the new moon, as I was among the exiles of the river, by the river Kabar, the heavens were open, and I saw visions of Elohim. On the 5th of the new moon, on the 5th year of King Jehoiakim's exile, the word of Yahweh came expressly to Ye- Yehezkel, the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Kasdim by the river Kabar, and the hand of Yahweh came upon him there. Buzi had a drinking problem. I'm just kidding. Sorry. Verse 4, and I looked and saw a whirlwind coming out of the north, a great cloud with fire flashing itself, and brightness was all around it, and out of its midst like glowing metal. Out of the midst of the fire, and out of the midst of it came what looked like 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, and each one had 4 faces, and each one had 4 wings. And their feet were straight feet, and the soles of their feet were like the soles of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the appearance of polished bronze. And under their wings, on their 4 sides, were the hands of a man, and each of the 4 had faces and wings. Their wings touched one another. They did not turn when they went, but each one went straight forward. And the likeness of their faces, the man, and the likeness of their faces, the face of a man, and each of the 4 had a face of a lion on the right side, and each of the 4 had the face of an ox on the left side, and each of the 4 had the face of an eagle. Such were their faces. Their wings were spread upward. 2 of each touched one another, and 2 covered their bodies. And each one went straight forward, going wherever the Spirit was to go. They did not turn when they went. And the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of torches moving back and forth among the living creatures. And the fire was bright, and out of the fire went lightning. And the living creatures ran back and forth like the appearance of a flash of lightning. And I looked at the living creatures and saw a wheel on the earth beside each living creature with its 4 faces. The appearance of the wheels and their works was like the appearance of beryl, and all 4 had the same form. The appearance of the works was, as it were, a wheel in the middle of a wheel. When they went in any one of the 4 directions. They did not turn aside when they went. And their ribs were high and awesome, and their ribs were covered with eyes all around the 4 of them. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went beside them, and went. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Wherever the Spirit was to go, they went, because there the Spirit went, and the wheels were lifted together with them. For the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. Pardon me for 1 second. Sorry about that. That's much better though. Okay. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Verse 20. Wherever the Spirit was to go, they went, because there the Spirit went, and the wheels were lifted together with them. For the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. When those went, when those went, these went. When those stood, these stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up together with them. From the spirit of the living creatures was from the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheel. I'm sorry, this is kind of hard for me to follow along with. I'm gonna read that verse again. When those went, the wheels with the eyes in them, these went. When those stood, these stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up together with them. For the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. That doesn't read well to me somehow. And the likeness was over the heads of the living creatures, an expanse like the appearance of an awesome crystal stretched out over their heads. And under the expanse, their wings were straight, one toward another. Each one had two with which covered one side, and each one had two which covered the other side of the body. And when they went, I heard the noise of their wings, like the noise of many waters, like the voice of the Almighty, a tumult, like the noise of an army. And when they stood still, they let down their wings, and a voice came from above the expanse that was over their heads. When they stood, they dropped their wings, and above the expanse over their heads was the likeness of a throne, in appearance like a sapphire stone, and on the likeness of the throne was a likeness of the appearance of a man high above it. And from the appearance of his waist and upward, I saw what looked like glowing metal with the appearance of fire all around within it. And from the appearance of his waist and downward, I saw what looked like fire and brightness all around, as the appearance of a rainbow in a cloud on a rainy day. So was the appearance of the brightness all around it. This was the appearance of the likeness of the esteem of Yahweh. And when I saw it, I fell on my face, and I heard a voice of one speaking. This might be a long reading, guys. I'm sorry. Chapter 2. And he said to me, Son of man, stand on your feet, so that I speak to you. And the Spirit entered into me when he spoke to me, and set me on my feet. And I heard him who was speaking to me. And he said to me, Son of man, I am sending you to the children of Israel, to a nation of rebels who have rebelled against me. They and their fathers have transgressed against me until this day. And the children are stiff of face and hard of heart, to whom I am sending you. And you shall say to them, Thus said the Master Yahweh. And they, whether they hear or whether they refuse, for they are a rebellious house, shall know that the prophet has been in their midst. And you, son of man, do not be afraid of them, nor be afraid of their words. Though thistles and thorns are with you, and you dwell among scorpions, do not be afraid of their words, or discouraged by their looks. For they are a rebellious house, and you shall speak my words to them, whether they hear or whether they refuse. For they are rebellious. And you, son of man, hear what I am speaking to you. Do not be rebellious like the rebellious house. Open your mouth and eat what I am giving you. And I looked and saw a hand stretched out to me, and see, a scroll of a book was in it. And he spread it before me, and it was written on the inside and on the outside, and written on it were lamentations and mourning and woe. Chapter 3. And he said to me, Son of man, eat what you find. Eat this scroll and go. Speak to the house of Israel. And I opened my mouth, and he fed me the scroll. And he said to me, Son of man, feed your stomach, and fill your stomach with the scroll that I am giving you. And I ate it, and it was as sweet as honey in my mouth. And he said to me, Son of man, go to the house of Israel, and you shall speak to them with my words. For you are not sent to a people of foreign speech and of difficult language, but to the house of Israel. Oh my gosh, sorry. Not too many people of foreign speech and of difficult language, whose words you do not understand. Not too many people of foreign speech, of difficult language, to whose words you do not understand. If I had rather sent you to them, they would have listened to you. But the house of Israel is going to refuse to listen to you, for they refuse to listen to me. But for the house of Israel, but for but all the house of Israel are hard of head and hard of heart. See, I shall make your face as hard as their faces, and your forehead as hard as their foreheads. Like adamant stone, harder than flint, I shall make your forehead. Do not be afraid of them, nor be discouraged at their looks, for they are a rebellious house. And he said to me, Son of man, receive into your heart all my words that I speak to you, and hear with your ears, and go. Come to the exiles, to the children of your people, and speak to them, and say to them, Thus said the Master Yahweh, whether they hear or whether they refuse. And the Spirit lifted me up, and behind me I heard the sound of a great rumbling voice. Blessed be the esteem of Yahweh from his place, and the sound of the wings of the living creatures touching one another, and the sound of the wheels beside them, and the sound of a great rushing. And the Spirit lifted me and took me away, and I went in bitterness, in the heat of my spirit, while the hand of Yahweh was strong upon me. And I came to the exiles at Tel Abib, who were dwelling by the river Kabar, and I sat where they were sitting, and sat there, stunned among them 7 days. And it came to be at the end of 7 days that the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Son of man, I have made you a watchman for the house of Israel, and you shall hear a word from my mouth, and shall warn them from me. When I say to the wrong, you shall certainly die, and you have not warned him, nor spoken to warn the wrong from the wrong way, to save his life, that same wrong man shall die in his crookedness, and his blood I require at your hand. This passage is almost, oh, footnote, verse 19. But if you have warned the wrong, and he does not turn from his wrong, nor from his wrong way, he shall die in his crookedness, and you have delivered your being. And when a righteous one turns from his righteousness, and shall do unrighteousness, when I have put a stumbling block before him, he shall die. Because you did not warn him, he shall die in his sin, and his righteousness which he has not done is not remembered, and his blood I require at your hand. But if you have warned the righteous one that the righteous should not sin, and he did not sin, he shall certainly live, because he has been warned, and your you have delivered your being. Huh. Ezekiel 3:20. And the hand of Yahweh came upon me there, and he said to me, Arise, go up to the into the plain, so that I might speak to you there. So I got up and went out into the plain, and see, the esteem of Yahweh stood there like the esteem which I saw by the river Kabar. And I fell on my face. And the Spirit entered me, and set me on my feet, and spoke with me, and said to me, Go, shut yourself inside your house. And you, O son of man, see, they shall put cords on you, and bind you with them, so that you do not go out in their midst. And I make your tongue stick to the roof of your mouth, so that you are dumb, and not be a reprover to them. For they are a rebellious house. But when I speak with you, I open your mouth, and you shall say to them, Thus said the Master Yahweh, He who hears, let him hear, and he who refuses, let him refuse, for they are a rebellious house. one second. Sorry. Hey, Zadik. Shalom, brother. Yeah, I'm actually not even sick. I just have this insane like sinusitis or I don't know what's going on with it, bro. I don't know, but I do appreciate your guys' prayers. It's 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 seriously bothering me lately. And I've been trying to keep a good attitude about it, but it's holding me down. Uh but anyways, we'll go ahead and get right back in the word. No, I'm still sipping on it. Actually, yeah, I will take another cup though if you don't mind. Thank you, sweetie. All right. Chapter 4. And you, son of man, take a clay tablet, and you shall lay it before you, and shall inscribe on it a city, Jerusalem, and shall lay siege against it, and build a siege wall against it, and heap up a mound against it, and set camps against it, and place battering rams against it all around. Then take an iron plate, and set it on an iron wall between you and the city. You shall set your face against it, and it shall be besieged. And you shall lay siege against it. It is a sign to the house of Israel. And lie on your left side, and you shall put the crookedness of the house of Israel on it. As many days as you lie on it, you shall bear their crookedness. For I myself have laid on you the years of their crookedness, according to the number of the days, 390 days, and you shall bear the crookedness of the house of Israel. And when you have completed them, you shall lie again on your right side, and shall bear the crookedness of the house of Yehuda 40 days. Judah, a day for a year. I have laid on you a day for a year. Then you shall set your face toward the siege of Jerusalem, and with your arm bared, and you shall prophesy against it. Excuse me. And see, I shall put cords on you, so that you do not turn from one side to another until you have completed the days of your siege. And take wheat and barley and beans and lentils and millet and spelt, and you shall put them into one vessel and make bread of them. You shall eat it as many days as you lie on your side, 390 days. And your food which you eat is by weight, 20 shekels a day, to be eaten from time to time. And drink water by measure, 1/6 of a hin, to be drunk from time to time. And eat it as a barley cake, and bake it before their eyes, on human dung. Ugh. And Yahweh said, even so the children of Israel shall eat their defiled bread among the nations to whom I drive them. Then I said, ah, Master Yahweh, I see. Ah, Master Yahweh, see, I have never defiled myself from my youth until now. I have never eaten what died of itself, or was torn by beasts, nor has unclean meat ever come into my mouth. And it came to be, see, I am giving you the dung of cattle instead of human dung, and you shall prepare your bread over it. Thanks. Um, Nor has the unclean meat come into my mouth. Verse 14 will go on at 15. And he said to me, see, I am giving you the dung of cattle instead of human dung, and you shall prepare your bread over it. Okay, so some of you are aware that when you find cow patties that are all dried up in a field, it's basically just like compressed like grass. And you can burn it, and people do burn it. And apparently that's exactly what they're doing here. Verse 16. Is it ideal? I wouldn't say so, but hey, it is what it is. Verse 16. And he said to me, Son of man, see, I am going to cut off the supply of bread in Jerusalem, and they shall eat bread by weight, and with fear, and drink water by measure, and with dread, so that they lack bread and water, and shall be appalled with one another, and be consumed in their crookedness. Yeah, it's not exactly a blessing, is it? Chapter 5, verse 1. And you, son of man, take a sharp sword, take it as a barber's razor, and you shall pass it over your head and your beard, and you shall take scales, to weight and divide the hair. Burn with fire 1/3 in the midst of the city when the days of the siege are completed. And you shall take 1/3 and strike around it with the sword, and scatter 1/3 in the wind. And I shall draw out a sword after them. And you shall take a few hairs from there, and bind them in the edge of your garment. This is all very curious. And take again some of them, and throw them into the midst of the fire, and burn them in the fire. From it a fire shall spread unto all the house of Israel. Thus said the Master Yahweh, This is Jerusalem, which I have set in the midst of the nations, with the other lands all around her. But she rebelled against my right rulings, doing wrong more than the nations, and my laws more than the lands all around her. For they have rejected my right rulings, and they have not walked in my laws. Therefore, thus said the Master Yahweh, because you have rebelled more than the nations all around you, and you have not walked in my laws, nor done my right rulings, nor even done according to the right rulings of the nations all around you. Therefore, thus said the Master Yahweh, Look, I myself am against you, and shall execute judgments in your midst before the eyes of the nations. And I shall do among you what I have never done, and the like of which I never do again, because all your abominations. Therefore, fathers are going to eat their sons in the midst of the son. Sorry. Therefore, fathers are going to eat their sons in your midst, and the sons eat their fathers, and I shall execute judgments among you, and scatter all your remnant to all the winds. Therefore, as I live, declares the Master Yahweh, because you have defiled my set apart place with all your disgusting matters and with all your abominations, therefore I also withdraw. And my eye shall not pardon, nor shall I spare. 1/3 of you shall die of pestilence, and be consumed with scarcity of food in your midst. And 1/3 shall fall by the sword all around you. And I shall scatter another third to all the winds, and draw out a sword after them. And my displeasure shall be completed, and I shall bring my wrath to rest upon them, and I shall be eased. And they shall know that I, Yahweh, have spoken it in my ardor, when I have completed my wrath upon them. And I shall make you a waste and a reproach among the nations that are all around you, before the eyes of all who pass by. And it shall be a reproach, and an object of scorn, a warning, and an astonishment to the nations that are all around you, when I execute judgment among you in displeasure, and in wrath, and in heated chastisement. I, Yahweh, have spoken. When I send against them the evil arrows of scarcity of food, which shall be for their destruction, which I send to destroy you, I shall increase the scarcity of food upon you, and cut off your supply of bread. And I shall send against you scarcity of food and evil beasts, and they shall bereave you, and pestilence and blood shall pass through you. While I bring the sword against you, I, Yahweh, have spoken. Give me one sec again. Sorry. Shalom, brother Jay Zadik. We'll catch you next time, bro. Good to see you. All right, all right, all right. We're back. This is gonna be a short one. This is gonna be a short video, guys. I'm not feeling it too much. We'll wrap it up after this chapter. I can't put you guys through this. Chapter 6, verse 1. And the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Son of man, set your face toward the mountains of Israel, and prophesy against them. And you shall say, O mountains of Israel, hear the words of the Master Yahweh. Thus said the Master Yahweh to the mountains, to the hills, to the ravines, and to the valleys. Look, I myself am bringing a sword against you, and I shall destroy your high places. And your slaughter places shall be ruined, and your sun pillars shall be broken in pieces. And I shall make your slain fall in front of your idols, and lay the corpses of your children of the children of Israel in front of their idols, and scatter your bones all around your slaughter places. In all your dwelling places, the cities shall be destroyed, and the high places deserted, so that your slaughter places are broken and bear their punishment. And your idols shall be smashed and made to cease, and your sun pillars cut down, and your works blotted out. And the slain shall fall in your midst, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. But I shall bereave a remnant. Oops. I shall leave a remnant, in that some of you shall escape the sword among the nations when you are scattered throughout the lands. And those of you who escape shall remember me among the nations where they have been captive, because I have been broken by their adulterous heart, which was turned away from me, and by their eyes, which whored after their idols. And they shall loathe themselves for the evil which they have done in all their abominations. And they shall know that I am Yahweh, and not for nothing have I spoken to do this evil to them. Thus said the Master Yahweh, strike with your hand and stamp your feet and stay. Alas, of because all the evil abominations of the house of Israel, who shall fall by the sword, by scarcity of food, and by pestilence. He who is far off shall die by pestilence, and he who is uh, near fall by the sword. And he who is left over and is besieged die by scarcity of food. And I shall complete my wrath upon them, and you shall know that I am Yahweh, when their slain are among their idols all around, their slaughter places on every high hill, on all the mountain tops, under every green tree, and under every thick oak, wherever they offered sweet incense to all their idols. And I shall stretch out my hand against them, and make the land a wasteland, even more waste than the wilderness toward Diblah, and all their dwelling places, and they shall know that I am Yahweh. Picking back up on chapter 7 when we come back. J.O., shalom, brother. Um, Unfortunately, yeah, we're gonna cut it short this time. I'm having a hard time um breathing through my nose, and so um I will do all my, blowing my nose and stuff off camera. It'll be better. But I appreciate you guys listening along for this short Bible reading. Uh, might have to extend a couple extra readings on this book, but that is just fine. Um, hope you guys have a blessed rest of your night. Love you guys, and we'll catch you in the next one. Shalom.